Good to go, gentlemen, you good? Good to go? Okay. The September 27th Boardman Board of Education meeting is now in session. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Armstrong, you please go ahead and call the roll. Here. Thank you. We'll move on to item number 2, which is public participation. On behalf of the board, we welcome all students, staff, parents, and interested community members to tonight's Board of Education meeting. Please be reminded that this is a meeting of the Board of Education held in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. Board members generally do not provide a response to questions during public participation. For those wishing to make public comment, participants will be recognized by the presiding officer and must preface their comments with the announcement of their name, address, and group affiliations, if and when appropriate. Each statement made by a participant shall be limited to 5 minutes duration. And our first name is Donna Adams. Will you please come forward? I think you need to tilt it a little. Try that.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Donna Adams. I reside at Melbourne Avenue, Boardman. My daughter is a senior in Boardman. Sorry. I don't want to go back over the same points that I made at the last board meeting, but I would also like to add, and hopefully the board will take some of these points into consideration when making their decision about mask mandates in the school. The board is stating that they are following the Ohio Department of Health. The Ohio Department of Health also mandated that people could walk into restaurants and when seated they can take their masks off. Why can't our students? Why are the students being made to wear their masks during classroom participation? At the last board meeting, there were several people well, I don't want to say several, there were a few people that came up here and wore their masks while they were making their points. While they were speaking, you could visibly see that they were gasping for air. They could not finish their speech without taking their mask off. And I hope that you will go back and look at that film, because I know that the board meetings are recorded and you can see that. So while our students are talking in class, think about that. When they're trying to speak to their teachers and have discussions in the classroom, they are having problems breathing through these masks. Again, I cannot stress enough, the board cannot take away our parental rights. These are our children. We make their medical decisions. The board does not. I understand that your position is that that you feel that the need to protect our children, but the COVID numbers do not reflect the need to wear masks for an 8-hour period. They're not wearing the mask at after-school activities. They didn't wear the mask at the craft show that was held in here. So I'm just kind of wondering, I mean, is COVID the smartest virus alive? Because apparently it dies at some point. These kids need to see the facial expressions on each other. It helps with their growth, it helps with their mental health, it helps with their daily education. It's causing anxiety and depression, and there are studies that prove that. The mask mandates, all mandates actually related to COVID, are also creating divisiveness amongst people. It's almost creating 2 classes of people, and it's not right. I did want to point out that the 14th Amendment, the doctrine of bodily autonomy, It draws authority from our God-given and inalienable rights to deprive a person of life, liberty. That requiring somebody to wear a mask when they is taking away from their medical freedom. It is taking away from our ability to make choices that we feel that are right for ourselves. And I really hope that the board can come to the decision that leaves the decision in the hands of the parents. We ultimately are responsible for our children's medical decisions. I mean, I'm not trying to be ignorant or rude, but I mean, everybody, I see all the board members here with masks on tonight. You've all been seen in public settings without masks, out in public. I mean, this is not, you can't wear a mask when you feel it's for show, and then when you're out and about on your own and not wear a mask. It's one or the other. And if you're going to make our kids wear masks 8 hours a day, when we see you out in public, we expect you to be wearing your masks. And that's all I have to say for right now. But I do ask if you do please leave the decision in the parents' hands. We are a parent. We are the parents. Do not take away our parental rights. Thank you.
Next up is Jason Pavone. There he goes.
Jason Pavone, 573 Squirrel Hill Drive, Boardman, Ohio. Obviously. I didn't write anything down, so I'm going to wing it, see how it goes. First point, COVID-19. It is my firm belief that if you're going to issue that you want the kids to wear masks, you need to give the parents an option to opt out of that policy. Write it on a piece of paper, make it a form that you send home with every kid, and list what will happen, if they're exposed to COVID without having a mask on. And say, make it so you understand, a little box you check on it that they understand that this is what they're signing. And let the parents make that decision. And, my concern is that I think the decision's already been made. And, I can't remember who said it, but somebody said we lose our freedoms a little bit at a time. And my concern is this leads to a slippery slope. We all know that the vaccine is going to get approved from 5 to 11-year-olds soon for emergency use. It's coming. So what happens when that happens? And we start getting pressure to vaccinate all kids that come to school. What decision do you make then? Because then you're really talking about medical rights. The study that was done had 2,000 kids in it. 2,000. That's not a very big population for a study. I used to be a pharmaceutical rep. All the drugs that I launched when I was a pharmaceutical rep had 5 to 7 years of safety data. Hundreds of thousands of patients. That's what I want to see before I inject my kids with that. And just to be clear, I have the COVID shot. So this isn't coming from some guy that's an anti-vaxxer. I took the COVID shot. But I feel it's not prudent to give to my kids. That's all I'm going to say on that. Moving on to the next one, the busing issue. Recently it was announced that the buses were not going to be running to parochial schools and for the special needs kids that would get them where they need to go. I will tell you this. From the time I went here as a senior, I always wondered why Boardman school buses were running kids out to Cardinal Mooney. I don't have a problem with that. If you want to send your kid to one of those schools, that should be on you to get your child to that school. But I think, you have to look at the special needs issue separately. Those parents aren't making a choice to send their kids there. They might have to. And it's incumbent upon the schools to help those parents out as much as possible and help those kids get to the school. The press release that you guys released, I don't know who wrote it, but you said it was impractical. Okay, that's an answer I give my 8-year-old when I don't want to do something. If it's impractical, give me reasons, A, B, C, and D, on why it's impractical. Okay. Last topic I want to discuss is the Market Street School. So we did the Market Street School over to the ABC Water District. I know that was like a transfer of property without any money changing hands. I've talked about this before at school board meetings. You have something of value, get something for it. I'm not saying you got to charge them, $3 million for the property, But if it's so many acres, how about $500 an acre? That you could take money into the school and use it for something to benefit the kids. I sat at the civics meeting last week and I listened to the incumbents talk about their business acumen, their business experience. But I sat there and wondered, well, how come nobody asked for money? The ABC Water District has anywhere from $700,000 to $1.2 million at any given moment, depending on how the fees are being collected. Do you mean they wouldn't be willing to donate or give some of that money to the school for that property? As a taxpayer, I find that ridiculous. And especially when the statement came out that you were going to sell the property, looking for a buyer. You need to be cognizant of these things. That's an opportunity wasted that could have brought in revenue to the school to fund whatever program you wanted to make Boardman, the kids in Boardman have a better education. Thank you very much.
Georgia Caliphate.
Good evening, I'm Georgia Caliphate. I live at Ferncliff Avenue here in Boardman, and I have a student that attends Glenwood Middle School. I want to thank you for your time tonight. I understand that you're under a lot of pressure from a lot of different directions when it comes to the whole mask situation. I'm going to keep this short, but I do want to draw your attention to that graph that I passed out. Is directly from the CDC website, and what it's showing is a comparison between the at-risk population of 65 plus and the number of hospitalizations per 100,000 population month by month from March 2020 through the current month, September. And you can see in yellow is the 65 plus population as it continues to spike up and down, and you can barely see the data from 5 to 17-year-olds and their number of hospitalizations because it looks like it's on the x-axis. Yes, people are getting COVID, and yes, children are getting COVID, but their immune systems are fighting it, and they are not being hospitalized as a result. And even during the time period when we were under quarantine, it hasn't fluxed at all. It hasn't gone up or down. Even when these children were in masks, out masks, the entire summer, that line of 5 to 17-year-olds has not changed at all. So I thought that we're talking, we want to use science when we're making decisions about our children. And my main concern too is that how is a panel going to be able to decide what health measures are taken for my child, and their immune systems are working fine, so why are we going to keep them in masks in the classroom? And as a teacher myself, it's been hard to be able to speak up for my own truth and how I feel this is. I'm watching every day how this is affecting our children and how the quiet children and the shy children are now not even speaking at all in the classroom with these masks on, because it was hard enough for them to speak loud enough for their peers to hear because they're so shy and reserved. And after all of this isolation that they've been through and all of the social and emotional things that we're facing now on top of what we were already facing. And I'd like to see our children's faces in the classroom, and I want them to be able to see mine, and I want them to see that I'm smiling and that I care about them. We have to be able to make those connections, and we have a lot of things to come back from after this quarantine, and these kids are very far behind. And I'm not even talking about academically, but academically they're very far behind, but socially and emotionally we have a lot to do with these kids, and these masks are not helping. And in addition to that, my concern is that you can make decisions. If a panel that's not there, the parents should be able to make the decision as far as what they feel is right for their child's health. And if you're able to make this decision that you can mask my child or not mask my child, that concerns me greatly when it comes to this vaccine that's coming down the lines. So thank you for your time.
Joel McKendry. Joel McKendry.
Joel McKendry, North Cadillac. I'm a parent. First off, since, I know the board isn't gonna answer any questions tonight, could someone please explain me the logic of this? You're saying masks are used for protection, but if I don't have a mask for my child, you're gonna hand out the ear loop mask, which I see a bunch of people wearing, you're wearing. And also I'd like to point out that you're not even wearing them correctly and you're touching your face, so it's doing nothing. But that's not the point. That's not the point, because you're handing these masks to my kids saying it's for protection, but on the box it says it does not protect you from the coronavirus or any other virus. So I'm just kind of, does anybody, please, I would love to hear an explanation, because it says on the box it will not do what you're saying it's doing.
This is not about the kid.
Okay, I can send my kid here with a piece of nylon covering his face, and that's okay? That's not about safety. That's basically you telling me, cover your child's face. That's child abuse. That has nothing to do with safety. And you can say what you want, but it is there, and I am upset, and there's a lot of people upset that aren't even here, and I am speaking for them, because this has got to stop. Okay, I'm very disappointed. The first time that we had this meeting, we came here, calm, cool, collected, we voiced our concerns, we gave you data, evidence, pure facts that are irrefutable, proving kids are not at risk, okay? They're not. Masks don't protect them. We didn't get one email, one phone call, not even a text message back in response.